PLP? Y'all can do better than that. PLP? PLP? Okay, good. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me this evening. So it's wonderful to be here with you, my PLP family. And so I don't use the word family very lightly, but I feel like I'm becoming part of the Golden Gates family. Because as the minutes would have said, I was here last month. And for that, I'd like to thank one of your executives who is in here right now, Rashad Bain, who is also an executive on the Progressive Young Liberals. He knows that one of our sort of big jobs this year is to ensure that we establish and maintain relationships with all of our constituency branches. So I came out just to show my face. And so in turn, I was asked to be the guest speaker this month. And so I hope this branch and PYL continues the relationship. So thank you for the entire executive board for inviting me to speak today. But I must admit that I wish that I came to speak at a better time or a better juncture. Because if we're being real, things aren't good in this country right now. I remember speaking at the PLP convention in October last year. And at that convention, I vividly remember saying that we were living in serious times and that our country was at a crucial juncture. I said that young people are feeling like our country is sort of just collapsing before our eyes. And at a time when things should be sort of moving in the right direction and moving up for us, we feel like things are just going to the wayside. And so over a year later, or almost a year later, and over a year since this F&M government has been in power, I would say that things have changed. But they haven't changed for the better. They've actually changed for the worst. Since the F&M has been in power, we see that they've gone on a spree of victimization. So the pain that Bahamians were already feeling, they've now fired thousands and thousands and thousands of Bahamians. And I'm not exaggerating, they have fired thousands and thousands and thousands of Bahamians. At one point, I remember opening the newspapers, and every single day it seemed like there were more mass layoffs. 500 people here, 300 people here, 1,000 here, this government ministry, that government department, and they add up. And I'm wondering where they think these people go. These are Bahamians who live in our country. These are Bahamians who live in Golden Gates, in Pinewood, in Golden Isles, in Garden Hills. People who have to feed their families. But for me, also importantly, these are young people who need to have every assistance in life as they come and they move up in life. This government, months later, after all of the firings, they've also done something what I find completely disgraceful. At a time that they say our economy is not doing too well, they've increased value-added tax to a rate that I feel overburdens Bahamians, to a rate that I feel that Bahamians can't sustain. And the thing that sort of irks me is that they did this without any consultation. And so the second the news was out, every single major organization and department, they came out against it. They said, have you consulted? What makes you think that you're going to get the revenue from this increase? How is this going to affect businesses? How is this going to affect the economy? But most importantly for me, how is this going to affect people on the ground, regular Bahamians? And they had no answer to that, but they passed it. And now, a month later, we see that it has in fact negatively affected the economy. And they're trying to downplay the statistics, but the numbers speak for themselves. Businesses are reporting a downturn in their revenue. But importantly to me, when I go from constituency to constituency and I'm talking to young people, people on the ground are feeling it. So we can talk about it from sort of a macro level and talk about the numbers in the budget and the economy. But what's important to me is that we have to talk about it from a social aspect. We have to talk about how it affects people here on the ground. And so just last week, I was speaking to a young lady in Pinewood Gardens, a single mother, who said, you know, last year, she was already scrapping to sort of make ends meet to get her son ready for school. And this year, she said she doesn't even know how she's going to find, you know, the $10 to get his hair cut every single week from now. You know, she said summer, she could let his hair grow. He wants his hair to grow, but in school, you have to get that hair cut, you know? And so to me, when you talk to young people, young families, young single parents, and they have an issue finding $10 to cut their son's hair, that sort of lets you know the sort of drastic situation we're in as a country. And so we're realizing that this F&M government really doesn't care. They don't care about us. And so that's becoming very apparent. And so we see the VAT and we see all these other things, but now we start to look at their other policies. We kind of see that, as an organization, we kind of, when they got elected, we kind of said that they didn't have a plan. And I believe that. But now I'm starting to believe that they, in fact, did have a plan, and they are actualizing what their real plans and intentions always were from the very beginning. So you look more deeply into their policies. So let's go all the way back to December, because as a people and as an organization, we tend to let them get away with sort of doing things and saying things and then moving on. They put something else, some other spectacle for us to sort of be concerned about, and we forget the things that they've already done. So when we talk about, for example, the Commercial Enterprises Act that has now been passed, with the stroke of a pen, they took us back to pre-1965. When the PLP came in power, they instituted policies in which businesses had to prove that there was no Bahamian available for a job before they can then offer that to a foreigner. Commercial Enterprises Act, completely done away with that. And so I'm talking to young people, and young people on the ground, I think they underestimate the intelligence and the intellect of Bahamians. They feel like, these things are gonna pass us and we're not gonna realize. But as I'm talking to young people on the ground, these are the things they're asking me about. Young guys who saying, you know what, I'm interested in computers. I see that that's an industry that they have in an act. So you mean to tell me that I'm gonna be competing with these foreigners who have way more opportunities, way more certificates and degrees than I do, just by virtue of where they're from or where they live or their socioeconomic status, and I'm gonna have to compete with them here in the Bahamas, where I should have first preference on a job. And the sad reality is, yeah, with that act, they are gonna have to compete with them. And so, as I talk to young people, I'm realizing that an effect of what's happening because of these F&M policies is that they're killing the ability of our young people to believe. They're killing the ability of our young people to dream. People are so busy right now just trying to survive and trying to get by that sort of these big goals and these dreams that our young people should sort of have in their mind right now, they're not even thinking about those things because, like I said, they're just trying to survive. And so the effect of these policies is that, in a sense, they're trying to put us back in our place and sort of keep us in our place. Because when the banks don't lend a young guy, funds to purchase a home, what they're essentially saying to him is, boy, this ain't for you. Stay in your place. You can't move to this other neighborhood. We're not gonna allow you that opportunity to better yourself. When you can't afford things in life to sort of improve your economic situation, they're telling you, stay in your place. With the Commercial Enterprises Act, they're telling you, these areas of the economy, these aren't for you. Stay in your place. And so now we move forward and we see a few weeks ago, they just bestowed national honors. And so we all know the debacle that happened with that. They've now honored Roland Simonet with the highest honor that we as a country can give anyone, that of National Hero. And so the thing that sort of irks me about that is that you honor men like Sir Lyndon Pinling and you honor Roland Simonet in the same stroke. So I'm trying to see their logic. If you say Sir Lyndon Pinling deserves to be a national hero because he fought against what they stood for, he fought against keeping the economic power into a small elite, he fought against what they did, and then you now honor the person they were fighting against. I don't understand that logic. But what's gonna happen is my future children, your children right now, your grandchildren, they're gonna go to school one day very soon, and they're gonna learn about Sir Roland Simonet, and they're gonna learn that he is a national hero. Everything he did is gonna be described to them in a completely different way. PYL released a press statement on this, and one of the things I said is that there's an old African proverb that says, until the lion learns to write, the story will always glorify the hunter. And so now you have the hunters with pen in hand, and they are rewriting our history. What we know to be true and to be fact, our children will learn in a completely different way. Again, they are now trying to sort of psychologically tame us and tell us, stay in your place. So our children will learn that Roland Simonet was a great man, that the policies that he would have instituted perhaps weren't that bad. And so in the States, they use this kind of term, it's called whitewashing, where they sort of take history and they kind of tame it down and they don't let you know all the ugly facts that sort of went on. They're whitewashing our history right now. And so these are things we have to watch out. And so while we say they don't have a plan, I think that might not be so good for us. We need to start letting the Bahamian people know that they in fact do have a plan. And it's to sort of turn this country back into what they had before or what they always wanted it to be. And so I'd like us to all sort of just keep that cognizant as we move forward as an organization. And so for me, this is a crucial time in our country, but it's an even more crucial time in our party. So meetings like these all over the country, that's where these become that much more important. Because people are seeing what's happening in our country and they're looking for avenues to go. And so I don't pay any mind or attention to what is said in the mainstream press, you know? That's their things. And so I'm not gonna allow them to sort of filter the information that comes to me. That's written from their perspective. So I pay attention to what's going on in the ground. The conversations in meetings like this, the conversations in the barbershops and the hair salons and the churches, that's where you get the real sense of what's happening in this country. And when you go to these places, you get a sense that Bahamians are concerned and Bahamians are worried and they do not like the direction this country is coming in. Last year when I became PYL chair, it was extremely difficult to get young people involved. The image of the party had been tarnished after the last election. And so you go into meetings, sometimes we were lucky if we had 5 or 10 people who would come to a meeting. But I've noticed a trend that's changing. More and more young people are reaching out to us. If you see our Facebook account, we're more active now. And so young people are reaching out saying, hey, what is PYL? I want to get involved. I see you guys are doing things. And you know, I would like to think it's because of a lot of the stuff that we are doing out in the community. But to be quite frank, it's also because, again, people are seeing what's happening in the country and they're looking for an avenue. And my belief is that the PLP must ready itself to become that party that people can believe in again, that people can go to again, that people can really see that we are fighting for their future, we are fighting for their dreams, we are fighting not just for them, but fighting for their grandkids. And so now is an opportunity. I believe we have a grand opportunity in this party to completely transform and turn into the 21st century version of what we once were. Back then, Sir Lyndon, they kind of reached into the pulse of the Bahamian people and they found that those needs and desires and they went out and they championed those for us. We need to transform ourselves into that party that does that once again. So in this time in opposition, the theme for tonight is the rise of youth, no surrender, no retreat. So at this time in opposition, we can't surrender and we can't retreat. So I want you to say with me, no surrender, no retreat.
No surrender, no retreat.
Say it again, no surrender, no retreat.
No surrender, no retreat.
So in this time, it's important that as an organization, we do the things to retool ourselves. And so the Constitutional Convention that's happening on the weekend, that's very important. The public needs to see that we're willing to do things to change ourselves as a party. The public needs to see that we're changing things to give young people and to give women a greater seat at the table. All the issues, the party needs to see that we're doing things, quite frankly, to fight corruption or the image or appearance that the public has that we're a corrupt party. They need to see this. And so things like the Constitutional Convention are things that are gonna assist in that. So right now, when we talk to people, they need to know that we're not surrendering, we're not retreating. We're reloading, we're re-energizing, and we're retooling ourselves to be the party that truly represents the Bahamian people once again. So I'm excited because when I go to branches like this and I see a room filled with sort of 20 or 30 people, you might think this is a small group, but my belief is that it's through groups that are small like these that the movement is gonna build. Because if you remember, Sir Lyndon, they started out with about 3 or 4 or 5 young men. I remember my grandfather, before he died, he told me a story about at one particular meeting, you know, he likes to say, and I don't know how true this is, but he said when the PLP opened to the public, he was the 6th member of the public to sign up. That was his claim to fame. He said, I was the 6th person to sign up. And so these things started in schoolrooms just like this. You know, they didn't have many schools back then, but it started in rooms just like this. It started in people's homes and the backyard where we got people together. And so the work we're doing right now is very, very important. And I don't want you to take it lightly, because when people see the fact that, when they see flyers going around, and just to see the fact that they haven't killed the PLP, that we're still having branch meetings, that we're still doing the festivals, that we're still having our press conferences. Right now, they may not be too engaged, but trust me, as the F&M continues to do what they're doing, more and more people, as I'm seeing in the Progressive Young Liberals, you're going to have more and more people just kind of peeking their heads in these meetings and coming in and sitting at the back, because, you know, we still need to ease them into it. But they want to know what's going on with the PLP. And so I'm very encouraged when I go to branch meetings and I see sort of the dedicated members. So I call you guys the grass movement, you know, the real foot soldiers who continue to be here month in and month out, because we truly here, I honestly believe we are going to be the people who starts this new revolution and this new movement. And so if you believe, like I believe, that the PLP is going to form the next government of the Bahamas, I need you to say, no surrender, no retreat.
No surrender, no retreat.
Say it again, no surrender, no retreat.
No surrender, no retreat.
So PLP?
All the way.
PLP?
All the way.
PLP?
All the way.
Thank you very much. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. Okay.